You've been thinking about maybe starting a career in HVAC, but every time you look into it, you fall into this overwhelm. It's like, do I go to trade school? Do I get certified first? Where do I even begin? I'm going to walk you through exactly how to start your HVAC career, and it's 2026, so we're going to use the smartest, most direct path available. None of the old school advice that wastes your time and money. Everything I'm going to share with you is something that I have done, and everything I'm teaching you here is from deciding if HVAC is right for you all the way to landing to your first job. This is what I learned by actually doing it myself and researching every option out there. You might be someone who's had HVAC in the back of your mind for years, but you didn't know how to bring all the pieces together to actually make it happen. Or maybe you started looking at programs, but you're really not sure where to go next. Either way, you're going to get a lot of clarity after this video. My name is Brandon Serpa, and I used to run a marketing agency called Rapid Media Co., specifically for HVAC companies. And after seeing how much money was in this field and how stable the work is, I decided to stop my marketing agency and sell it to my business partner and get into HVAC for myself. I researched training programs, talked to owners who are hiring, and worked in the field to understand what actually matters. And if you're wondering why you should trust me, I'm not going to sell you on trade school or some expensive program. I'm just going to show you what's working for people breaking into the HVAC industry right now. So let's get started. You've been thinking about getting into HVAC, but you're not totally sure what that actually looks like. Let me walk you through it. HVAC stands for heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. Here's the thing about HVAC. Entry-level techs typically start around $54,000 a year, but with experience, certifications, building your skills in the field, you can hit $72,000 a year or up towards to $80,000 a year. A lot of HVAC techs eventually go into self-employment or start their own business. It's a very lucrative trade. You just need to learn the skills first. That's when you really get control over your schedule, your income, and long-term growth. I'm going to be real with you. This is a hands-on career. You're going to need to be a problem solver, like figuring out what this thing does. You're going to be out in the field helping people when their AC breaks in the middle of summer or when their heat goes out in the middle of winter. So you're going to be very hot or very cold. You need reliable transportation. Most companies are going to drug test you. So if you're watching this on the ZA and you want to get an HVAC, you got to stop. If that doesn't scare you off, keep watching because I'm going to show you exactly how to break in. The career path usually looks like this. You start with training to learn the fundamentals. We'll get into that in a second, but right now I'm just painting the picture. You're either getting certified or starting an apprenticeship. That's where you're learning on the job. And if you're lucky, you're getting paid. Getting your hands dirty, building real experience. And then you land that first full-time role. After that, you can specialize in certain parts of HVAC. You can move into commercial HVAC if you want, which usually pays more. You can get into specific systems like chillers, boilers. You can eventually run your own thing. Business ownership is hard, but you make a lot of money, a lot of sacrifice, a lot of potential right there for you. That's the roadmap. Now let's talk about how you actually get started. Before you do anything in HVAC, you need to get how the systems work. We start from the fundamentals, from the bottom. You got to build your foundation up. You need to know safety. You need to know the theory behind heating, cooling, refrigeration, and this is where most people get stuck. They get in this little loop of not understanding how it works. A lot of people think, okay, I just need to go to trade school. And looking at trade school is one of the options, but it's also going to cost you $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, and it's going to take you 1 to 2 years before you're even ready to apply for apprenticeship. Do you really want to wait that long before you get into HVAC? I didn't do that. Back when I used to work in marketing, one of my HVAC clients saw how I handled my business and he made me an offer I could not refuse. Also, I never asked for it. He wanted to train me himself. Now, I know not everyone's going to get an offer like I did, but it's what allowed me to move from Arizona to Alabama, start in HVAC. That's why I personally think the Course Careers HVAC course is good for entry-level people who want to get into the trade without spending all that time, 1 to 2 years in trade school, and money, $10,000 to $20,000 on trade school. It's $499. That's it. One-time payment. Compare that to what the trade schools are charging and you're saving a ton of money. Second, most graduates can finish the course in 1 to 2 months. So instead of sitting in a classroom for a year or two, you're learning the same fundamentals, you're just doing it faster. Third, everything you need is in one place. You're learning all the basics about heating, cooling, ventilation, and the refrigeration cycle. You're also covering safety, which is huge because OSHA standards matter on job sites. You don't want to get a fine. You're learning about tools, piping, electrical systems, how to work with furnaces, heat pumps, condensers, all of it. And here's the biggest difference. The course is focused on getting you a job. Isn't that why you want to learn this in the first place, to get a job? You're not taking any random extra classes that don't matter. You're learning exactly what employers want you to know when they hire an entry-level HVAC tech. I know what you're probably thinking. Brandon, isn't HVAC hands-on? How am I supposed to learn this online? Great question. Here's how it works. The course teaches you the technical knowledge and the theory. You're learning how systems work, what different components do what, how to diagnose issues safely, protocols, basically all the stuff you need to know before you step foot on a job site. The hands-on part comes when you get hired or you start your apprenticeship, but you can't get hired if you don't know the basics first. And that's what the training is for. And if you want more support, Course Careers has affordable add-on coaching too. You can book one-on-one sessions with a professional who are currently working as HVAC techs, like myself. They'll answer all your questions, help you understand like material, and help you through the process. So if you're actually stuck on the course, you have those teachers and mentors to help you out. It's optional, but these are the extra stuff that Course Careers covers. So you need to get the training, learn the fundamentals, build the foundation, and if you're serious about this, here's the link to the free intro course in the description below. You can check it out, see if the job is a good fit for you, and go from there. Getting the training is a great step, but here's what most people don't realize. Knowing the theory and actually being ready to get hired are two different things. You can understand how a compressor works all day long, like what will cause it to blow. But if you can't show your employer you're ready for the job site, you are not getting an offer. So let's talk about what actually gets you hired in the field, ready to make big bucks. All right, so you've got the knowledge, you understand how HVAC systems work. Now you need to make sure you're ready for what employers are actually looking for. Here's what hiring managers really care about. When they're bringing on entry-level techs, here's what hiring managers care about when they're bringing on entry-level techs. Can you show up on time? Do you have a good attitude? Are you coachable? Do you get safety? Can you handle being on your feet all day, working in attics, crawl spaces? Sometimes in the heat or cold, you're not gonna be comfortable with HVAC. Let's just say that. And here's the good news. You don't need years of experience. You don't need to prove that. You just need to show them that you've done the work to prepare yourself to get hired. Here's what that looks like. So just follow these steps right here. I'm about to give you the sauce. First, be clear on safety rules, OSHA standards, PPE, how to handle electrical and fire hazards, refrigerants, compressed gas cylinders. If you could talk about safety in an interview, that shows you're serious. Now, second, understand the basics of the tools you'll be using. You don't need to have everything yet, but you should know what things are for. Multimeters for testing electrical components, manifolds for checking refrigerant pressures. When you talk about these things in an interview, it shows you know more than just surface level stuff. Third, be ready to explain how HVAC systems actually work. If someone asks you, walk me through how a heat pump works in heating, you should be able to do that. Same thing with cooling. Plus, what are you gonna do if a customer asks you a question and you don't know? You don't wanna sound like a dummy, right? Even if you haven't installed anything yet, you should have the theory down so you can show that you understand the process. And fourth, this is really, really, really huge. Be ready to talk about why you want to do this for work. For me, I came from marketing. I had my own business, but I saw how much opportunity there was in HVAC and I saw the earning potential. I wanted a career that was stable and hands-on and where I could actually help people. When I went into the interviews, I was clear about just that. I wasn't just looking for something that paid well. I wanted to build a real career. That matters to employers. So the secret sauce is knowing how to sell yourself as a high value employee. Your boss or the owners want to achieve a goal. That is why they're hiring you. So ask them what their goals are for the company. Their goals may be wanting to grow the company, add service techs, be in new regions, but ask them how they want to get there. Then figure out if there's something you can do to help them reach those goals faster. If you can show that you're thinking about their business, you're gonna stand out, which will increase the chances of you getting hired and start making $60,000 a year. Now, depending on where you live and what kind of HVAC work you want to do, you're probably going to need some certifications or licenses, maybe an EPA Section 608 license. And based off my experience, take the test at a supply house and get the universal license. Takes 2 weeks to learn. This is required if you're going to be working with refrigerants and pretty much every HVAC job that involves refrigerants. So you need this. The good news is that it's not hard to get. You study the material, you take the test, and you're going to get certified. I was able to do this within a week. Some people do it before they even start applying for jobs. Some people get it during their first few weeks on the job. And to be honest with you guys, I was working jobs and then I got it, and then now I have it for life. Either way, you need it. Then there's the state licensing. This will change depending on where you are. Some states need you to get licensed before you can work as a tech. Some states don't. In Alabama, where I am, you don't need a license, but if you want to own a business, you need a state HVAC license. And I have one. So check your local requirements and look up what your state needs. Don't skip this step, because if you need a license and you don't have it, you can't work legally, which means you can't get hired. Now, here's where a lot of people get confused. Do you need to do an apprenticeship? Not always. Some people go straight into the job as a helper or a junior tech and they learn on the job. That's kind of what I did. I was just learning on the job, following around a HVAC tech. Some people do a formal apprenticeship program where they're working under a master tech and logging hours. It depends on your state, your employer, and what path you want to take. From my experience, I like learning from someone that can watch me do the job and correct me. For me, my experience was a little unique though. I got offered the job and completely transitioned in January of 2025. I was getting trained on the job, going on calls, learning as I went. My mentor basically let me go on calls by myself pretty early, like 3 months in, and helped me over the phone if I needed it. That's how I learned. I would go up to a condenser, I'd call him, hey, I'm not getting voltage here, what do I do next? And then he would direct me. But other people might do it more structured. Apprenticeships where they're like shadowing someone for 6 months or a year before they go out on their own. Trust me, you just want to get thrown out to the wolves. Best way to learn from personal experience. There's not one single path here, but you need to be clear on what your state requires, what employers in your area expect, and what certifications you need to be legal and hireable. Do not assume anything. Do the research, ask the questions when you are interviewing, and get the certifications that you need in your state as soon as you can so you're not being held back. Some companies actually pay for your certifications. Certifications only take a week to knock out, so it shouldn't be too hard for you to get. This is where it all comes together. You've got the training, you've built job-ready skills, you're certified, you got your refrigerant certification. Now you need to actually land your first job. And here's the thing most people don't do during the job search that makes it way, way harder on them, and it may set them back a few months. They're either not going to enough interviews or they're going to be too choosy. Look, I get it. You want the perfect job. We all do. But the goal is to start, and it's to get experience. You can always move to a better company. That's what I did. 6 months with one company, 6 months with a new company. But if you're sitting around waiting for the perfect offer, you're wasting time. You want to get experience under your belt. So here's what you should do. Contact 30 to 50 local HVAC companies in your area. I'm talking within a 20-mile radius, so you don't have to drive too far. And just ask if they're hiring. Some of them won't be, some of them will, but you need volume. You can't just apply to 3 companies and hope one of them say yes to you. You need to work on this. And guys, I see you on TikTok and Instagram. You can't just keep applying on Indeed. It's not gonna work, so stop. And when you get interviews, you gotta show up prepared. Dress like you're taking it seriously. Bring a resume. Be ready to talk about what you've learned. Do not show up in ripped, baggy jeans. You need to talk about what certifications you have or what you're currently working on and why you want to do this as a career. Don't just say, I need a job. But what you should say is, I want to build a career in HVAC because I see the potential, I like hands-on work, and I'm ready to learn. Bonus points if you're handy and you know how to use tools. If you have other skills, mention them too. And if you're coachable, please make that clear. I was not handy and somehow I was able to get into HVAC. Employers want people who are going to listen, learn, and show up ready to work. That's way more important than having 5 years of experience when you're just starting out. It worked for me. I went from making $500 a week at my first HVAC job to $2,400 every 2 weeks, sometimes $3,000 every 2 weeks, depending on sales. That's a huge jump and a huge life upgrade. And it happened because I positioned myself as someone who could bring value, not just someone looking for a bigger paycheck. Your story is probably going to be way different than mine, but the principle is the same. You want to show employers that you're thinking about how you can help them grow their business, not just how you can sit there and collect a paycheck. That's what's going to separate people who break in fast from people who spend months stuck of applying and getting nowhere. One more thing, your working hours in HVAC are actually pretty solid. Take it from me, I work from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. most of the days. It's pretty nice. I have time to do other stuff that I love, like play League of Legends, play with my pugs, or even go to the gym. You might get emergency calls if you're on call, but most of the time you're working regular hours and you're not stuck in the office all day. One day I had to go to a job at 7 p.m. at night. It's part of the job. This job has made my marriage stronger and allowed me to be more connected where I live. It's not about just the money. It's about what this career can do for your life. My life has increased because of the HVAC trade. That's step 5. Be aggressive with your job search. Show up prepared. Position yourself as someone worth training. Business owners want to invest in people that will help them get to their goals. And don't be afraid to start somewhere even if it's not your dream job. You just want to get your foot in the door and build experience, and then you can move up or move on to something better. I did a lot of warranty calls in my first 3 months, and although they weren't great and didn't pay well, I did get to learn a lot of experience. All right, so let's wrap this up. We just covered the 5 steps to start your career in HVAC. Step 1. Understand the career path. Know what you're getting into, what the money looks like, and where you can go long term. Step 2, get the right training. Don't spend years and tens of thousands of dollars at trade school when you can learn the fundamentals of the exact same stuff in 1 to 2 months for $4.99. Step 3, develop job-ready skills. Show your employer you are prepared and understand safety and that you're coachable. Step 4, get certified EPA 608 or your state license if you need it, and figure out if you're going to be doing an apprenticeship or learning on the job. I recommend learning on the job. And step 5, land that first job. Be aggressive, interview at a ton of places, and position yourself as someone who's going to bring value to the company. If you do these 5 things, you're going to be way ahead of most people trying to break into HVAC, because most guys, they just aren't putting in the work like you are watching this video. It's a great field, job security, good money, and you're actually helping people. I'm bullish on the trades. This is a career that's AI approved, it's stable, and if you're willing to work hard and learn, you can build something real. You can go out and build your business in the future. So if you're serious about this, start with step 2. Go check out the Course Careers free intro course in my description below. See if it's a good fit, and if it is, go ahead and get started. The faster you move, the faster you're earning. Good luck, and if you have questions, drop them in the comments below. I guarantee you I'll do my best to help you out and answer all your questions.